and welcome back to my channel. First of all, in today's video I'm going to answer a viewer question, and then I'm also going to talk you through some recipes I've tried lately as well, and if there's time I'll talk you through a little bit of a bad experience I had recently, also concerning a dog, yet again, unfortunately. So the viewer question then, which I'm going to answer today is, are there any books you have read numerous times because it's so good? Generally speaking, I only read a book once. This is because there are so many books to read, and so if I were to reread the same ones, I would feel that I am missing out on a book still to be read, because let's face it, there's never enough time really, or so it feels, to read all the books on my ever-expanding book list. Also, while reading is pleasurable, it is also experienced as a somewhat stressful challenge, a task or chore that I need to complete. I don't know whether this is to do with my autism or whether this is just like something personal to me. Let me know if any of you experience these difficulties. But reading has never been a straightforward or natural thing for me. It's always something that feels quite mentally taxing. I can't just pick up a book. Like, I really envy those people who could just pick up a book on a train and just read with everything going on around them and just get immersed in a book, because I can't do that. I love reading, but it's something that does involve a lot of mental activity. It's very taxing, cognitively taxing I guess is a word, and requires a lot of concentration, and because concentrating on something is not always easy for me, it's quite difficult. So it's, you know, reading is something that I've really only, I mean, it's funny in a way, because as an adult I would describe myself as a bookworm, but I wasn't, and I went through phases as a child when I read, but mainly factual books when I was a child, because they're easier for me to understand. And my comprehension wasn't great as a child, but for like fiction and things like that, so I tended to read more in the way of fact. And I did go through phases when I was a child when I did read, but as the books got more demanding in terms of comprehension, for a long time I just didn't read at all. And then as an adult I got back into reading again, and I discovered actually I can make sense of it and I can enjoy it as long as I go at my own pace and work in my own way. But reading is never something that comes naturally to me, so it's kind of like a sort of, I guess, a kind of bittersweet relationship I have with reading. I do feel good once I have completed a book. I feel a sort of sense of mastery. I feel that I have at least completed one activity successfully, that I can be competent in at least one activity. Because being autistic, like, I often feel like out of my depth in many ways in the world, so when I find something that actually I can complete and that I can get something out of on my own terms, when I feel I've learned something, when I feel I've mastered something, you do get this kind of buzz, this great sense of satisfaction, and in the end sort of want to replicate that, even though it is really hard in a sense, because it is such a challenge. When I've completed it and feel that I've actually read this book from start to finish and that I've actually understood it, that's you know, it doesn't matter if I'm not doing anything in a sense productive with that, like, it's done for my own self really, but it just feels really good. It's like a challenge I've successfully completed. So the sense of satisfaction at having overcome a difficult yet rewarding task is a key motivator that encourages me to keep on reading, even though it is also stressful. But as the task was difficult, by rereading I would reconfront areas of a book that were stressful, and I fear that I might end up endlessly obsessing over meanings that I thought I'd worked through and completed successfully the first time round. So that's that's the other reason why I generally speaking don't reread a book. I am far more likely to rewatch a favourite film, and as I think I might have mentioned in other videos, during the height of my Kate Winslet days, when Kate Winslet was all I could think about, and it was literally the 100% obsession. It was an obsession, no other word can quite describe it really. It was definitely an obsession. I watched Titanic at least 30 times. it may well have been 100 times. Basically, it might have even been more than 100 times, because let's face it, I lost count because I watched it every single day for years. So, yeah, it must have been over. I lost count, basically. I watched it so many times. Particular scenes I would rewatch so many times. I learnt the screenplay off by heart, could do all the accents, everything, without effort, because when you watch it that many times, you do pick it up even without trying. I do, with films, I am more likely to rewatch them. Usually not as often. Titanic was quite exceptional. On average, if it's a good film, I might rewatch it 3, maybe 4 times. Some of Kate Winslet's films, of course, I watched in excess of that, because obviously I was obsessed, so I would keep on watching them over and over and over again, as with Titanic. I think I do this with films more than with books. Well, films are not quite as stressful for me as books, in terms of the fact, it's not such an effort to work things out, and also I tend to find out what's happening in a film first before I watch it, because I don't like surprises. Viewing a film for the second time, however, is easier and less stressful, because I know precisely what is coming up in the plot, and so I feel a greater sense of mastery. And I can also even often appreciate a film much better on a second or even third viewing. So sometimes I might see a film and I'm like, I'm not too sure about this, but often you need to see a film the second or third time to really make up your mind, and a film you thought was mediocre, sometimes you actually find is pretty good, but only after you've seen it the second or third time. It can happen that way. Now, there are a few exceptions with books, however, where I have read a book more than once. When I was obsessed with Kate Winslet, I read any book that she was associated with. One of my favourites was Hideous Kinky, which I read because Kate Winslet had read the book, so of course I had to read what she read, and Kate Winslet had also starred in a film version. I saw the film over and over again, possibly not quite as much as Titanic, but coming close. I did see it every day at one point. I read Hideous Kinky, I would say about 4 times, if not more, and I saw the film way more than that. It's about this young mother who takes her 2 daughters to Morocco in the 1970s. She's sort of like this sort of hippie sort of person, in search of a better life, and it is based on real events. I loved the evocation of Moroccan life, the clear narrative, the descriptions of food and mint tea, and a really funny nappy turban scene. You will have to read the book to find out more, but it had me in stitches. That was a really funny scene. It's just like these women who were wearing turbans made out of nappies or something. It's just a hilarious kind of scene in the book. And the book is actually told through the perspective of a woman's young daughter. Its ages ago since I read a book. Yeah, she had 2 daughters, B and Lucy. I think it was was it B? I can't quite remember what daughter was doing a narrating it. I think it was B, but I could be wrong. But anyway, it's a good book. The book actually even sparked a spin-off interest in Morocco for a while. I also read Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy about 3 times, as Kate Winslet has starred in a film. I would never have normally read such classic fiction were it not for Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet really did inspire me to read. I even read some of Jane Austen. I mean, believe it or not, Jane Austen is not someone I'd normally read because, it's all about social stuff, not really intrinsically interesting to me. But because Kate Winslet had starred in Sense and Sensibility, of course, I had to then go and read the book, which I did. And also, although I did not read the book, I listened to Kate Winslet's audio book of The Enchanted Wood by Enid Blyton so many times that, like with Titanic, I would repeat the script verbatim, without even trying, using Kate Winslet's exact accent, which I did indeed do a number of times when I was a teenager at the height of my obsession. So I hope that has answered your question. Do let me know if any of you have any favourite books you have read over and over in a comments box below. Now, very briefly now, in the second half of this video, I would like to tell you about a bad event that happened to me recently, which concerns a dog, yet again. It was Sunday, and I decided to walk in a local public garden where dogs are banned. I was suddenly confronted by a terrier on a lead that was in the garden near the exit, but in the garden nonetheless. The dog scared me as it barked. I told the owner, a man, that dogs are not allowed, and I banged the no dog sign firmly with my hand to prove a point. I was quite angry because I was not expecting this dog-free zone, to suddenly be confronted by a yappy dog. The man was dismissive and angry, again did not show any understanding that I had a phobia, and as I walked off he shouted, "You silly cow!" So completely, very rude and very dismissive. After me, I replied back in kind. I wasn't having him talk to me like that, and after all, he was breaking the rule. Because of his selfishness, a violation of rules, I could not walk through my favourite green space, and I felt really stressed. Now, why people break rules that are there for a reason is pure selfishness, yet ironically, other rules they will defend themselves. Their anarchism is therefore half-baked. Rule breaking as such makes hypocrites of us all, because I bet there are public rules he abides by that would upset him if I violated them, and I could violate them and call him a silly cow if he kind of took offence. You know, I could do that with just as much great justification. I posted my upset on Twitter, and it was reassuring to find that many people sympathised with my issue, which was very reassuring to find. Made me, restore some of my faith in humanity, really. This included a mother of a profoundly autistic son who said, I quote, "That would really annoy me too. My son is terrified of dogs, so we rely on dog-free spaces." She also said that, I quote, "My son's phobia of dogs restricts where we can take him, when we can get him out at all. A dog running up to him would be his worst nightmare. Another thing is dogs not on leads on pavements. He would run into the road. In fact, this has happened to me too. I've sometimes had to restrain myself from near collisions with cars, and I worry I might one day get hit by a car as I try to escape a dog. But, at least I have some awareness. Her son, obviously, is non-verbal. I think going by reading between lines, I think he's obviously learning disabled or something, doesn't have that awareness. This could be really very dangerous. Now, another tweeter, an autistic woman, replied that she used to be terrified of dogs until she was a teen. And she now assumes, I'm quoting here, she assumes that any nearby kids are scared of dogs by default. And keeps my small dog far away just in case, even though I only go places where dogs are all allowed. So there we have a very considerate, responsible dog owner. I really wish that all dog owners were this considerate and responsible. It would make life so much easier. I mean, there's really no excuse for someone being irresponsible, like the man was. I'm very thankful to these two women for their responses, and they do make me feel a bit better about the state of humanity. The thing is, rules are there for a reason. If we all chose to flout rules as we see fit, there would be anarchy. Very few people would want that. After all, we all have different opinions, but a rule is there to ensure common conduct so that differences in opinion don't lead to anarchy. Well thought out rules, such as this one, ones are in a democracy, are usually there for a reason. The vast majority of them, admittedly there might be a few rules that are there for logical reasons, but the vast majority in a democracy are well thought out reason, not oppressive, because we don't live in a dictatorship or anything. And they are important in a civilised society. So what do you think? Have you ever reprimanded someone for breaking a well-reasoned rule? Another one of my big bugbears is people cycling on the pavement in clear areas where they're not allowed to, when there are special designated cycling zones for them to cycle on. That's another one of my big bugbears. Apart from children, I can understand why little kids would, but I'm talking about grown adults, who just felt the rule and just don't care. So do let me know your thoughts. So I'm going to be moving on now to video number 2 for the recipes.